Okay guys, so we're just gonna do like a walkthrough of generally how I would go through editing most of the photos. So I already have everything already pulled up here, so I'm just gonna pull up Lightroom. It's usually what I use to edit all of my photos. So everything's already uploaded from my camera to my actual Lightroom. So I'm just gonna edit a couple photos to just show you the breakdown of how I go through each one, coloring, lighting, contrast, exposure, just different basic things like that. If you want a more in-depth video of how I transport things or like a step-by-step, maybe down in the comments if you're interested in something like that, I can definitely show you how I do that as well. But this is just me kind of just going straight from the camera to my computer, showing you the way I edit the photos photo by photo. So we'll just go right here to this first photo. Usually whenever I start, I always try to get to the shoot extra early, just so I can get shots like this in order to get the best just of the whole setup, the way everything is placed, just different things like that, because the people hiring you would always want to see the way things were set up, just so that they could look back on them. So this is just the basic setup, just with the heart, with the sign, the "Will You Marry Me" sign. So this is something that they might want a photo of. So it's always important to show up early for those shots, just so you can make sure you get those. So basically, this is straight out the camera. Just as how the photo looks. Seeing this right now, you may think like it looks good like this, but when you have that eye of a photographer, you can see that there's like a lot of different things, like the lighting. You could bring up the red a bit, a couple just different spots you want to touch up. So we'll just go through like a little breakdown of how I would do this photo. So I do already have my own presets, what I would use. So I just have like a lot of different ones that I use, just depending on the different type of shoots I'm doing, things like that. So I do have like a lot, but I do have one in mind that I think I would just go to already, that I already know will probably be the best one. So probably be this one. You can see, so this is the original photo, but with the preset I already have selected, you can see with this one, it brings out a lot of the red, also the highlights, the sign is even brighter. So this is just probably like a preset that I will use. So in Lightroom, you can do presets that are recommended, or you could even do like create your own. So even though I put the preset on it, there's still some things that I want to touch up on. So that's what I'm about to go through right now. So first thing I want to do, I'm gonna come right here to our tool and select the subject. A lot of times the way with this Lightroom is set up, it can automatically just sense what you need when it's focusing on the subject. Sometimes it does get a little tricky. It won't pick up the things that you automatically want, so you have to do it by hand. There's also different tools where you can select it, but we can see right there it selected the general area of what I wanted to pick. So I just want to bring up the color just a little bit. You can see you could also make it darker or really light, but we just want to go for that perfect amount. So I just want to bring it up just a little bit. I'll probably mess with the contrast a little bit just to see how that's looking. You can see I'll add just a little bit more contrast, not too much. The highlights, we can bring out the highlights just a bit. Also the shadows. Sometimes you can add as shadows, or you can even bring the shadows up. So I'll just bring that just a bit. The whites, I'll bring up the whites. So you see the whites, will bring up the sign a lot more. Also, we can mess with the blacks. You can see, we'll bring those down a little bit. Also, with this point curve tool, it really helps you to just select like the whole area. Sometimes I do use this as well, just to mess with it and see overall how it'll look. So sometimes I'll go back over with this point curve tool, just to see what areas I can touch up. So we'll just go through that. That's pretty good. We'll bring that down. I'll bring down the saturation just a little bit, just so too red. And you can see from there. Okay. Also, so these right here with the effects, you could bring up the texture, how with the camera that I shoot with is the Sony A7 III, so it does a good job of already capturing the amount of detail that I would need it to with the lens that I use. But you could also bring it up, say if it wasn't caught correctly. I want to bring the clarity down just to give it more of like a dreamy kind of look. I'll probably bring the tone down a bit here, bring in just a little bit more texture. And then I always add in just like take a little that noise, which can be like just the way if there's any noise caught in the photo. So that's always a good tool to use. Now I'm gonna create another mask just so I can focus in on the sign itself. So I'll just go ahead and select the object that I want to focus in on. So that'll be the "Will You Marry Me?" It does look good with the highlights, but I want to see if I can be able to bring it out just a bit more, just using that detail. So let me see. So now it's like, you see, not all the time it does it correctly. So you kind of have to do it by hand. So you just select that, and then I'll go back and select the other areas as well. Okay, so now that we have generally that area covered, so this is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna come to the texture and then just make it more texture just so you can see it a little bit better. Clarity, so you can kind of see the sign a bit better, but I don't want it to be too much to where you can actually see the sign. I still want it to be like clear. So I'll go ahead and remove that. And then let me see if we can add. Desaturate. Alright, so you can still see the sign, but it'll still have those highlights on it. Okay, so now I'll just leave it like that. Now I'm just gonna go back. So with this tool that we have, let me center the photo back. There we go. Now with this tool that we have, it helps us to erase anything, unwanted lines, things like that. So what I'll go ahead and do is erase right here. Make it a little bit smaller just so we can get that area. So I'm just gonna erase right here. Alright, then we're gonna hit remove. And this is kind of like using AI just so it could be able to remove that line. Sometimes, like I said, it does come out perfectly, and sometimes you have to go back and do it a couple times. With the new features that it has on Lightroom, it'll do like different like variations, so you can kind of see like it the way it goes. But that kind of did basically perfectly, except for that little spot just right there. But let's try it on the next line and get that removed. And see, and then it'll remove it. So that'll be the next one. And we can see it like removed it perfectly. Now we'll just do this last one right here. That looks pretty good. Now the only thing I'll go back and do is kind of like touch it up just a tad bit right here with the coloring, just so you can see if there's any areas that need touched. All right, that way. Just to give it like a more dreamy look, I'll touch up and bring up the clarity and the texture, just to give it a bit more like of a dreamy look. And then overall, if I touch it up that bit. So that's one photo. It probably took me about like 5 to 10 minutes for that one photo. But if we look back at it through the different variations that I made, this was the original photo and this was it after. So you can definitely see how tedious it is to do every single photo like that. But you know, we can see there's like a big difference between going from there to there. So we'll skip through a couple of these photos for now. I don't want to just redo like a whole nother photo of the same thing. I'll go through another photo just so you can see how I would edit it. Really good photo right here. You could definitely use one of these. But for now, just for our editing, we'll do one of the photos of her looking straight on. So let's this is a good one. So just to start off, what I'll do is I'll crop it just so it's centered properly. Move it over just a bit. There we go. Edit settings. So it did really make the color pop, but we are going to focus on our subject. So we'll just come right here to the masking tool. We'll focus on the subject and then just make sure we're using all the coloring correctly. So we'll make sure we'll do that. And since she was the focus of the photo, we want to make sure we had like the little bit of blur. So with the f-stop that I had on there, it's already at 1.2. So that's the reason you have that aperture and also the blur at the back. So we'll just bring this up. And just depending on the photo, sometimes I'll go straight to the point curve, and sometimes if I know automatically if I need to add more contrast, add more this, add more that, I'll go to it directly. But sometimes I do just start off going with like to the point curve. So that looks pretty good. Let me see. Let me see if I can add more red in there. Yeah, adding a little bit more red will look good. Sometimes a lot of you just have to play with it. See, you know, how the photo looks overall. Not doing too much. You don't want to do all the way too much exposure, all the way too much contrast, highlights, things like that. You just want to kind of mess with it and see what looks best. Or that's kind of the way I go about when I go about editing. So I'll bring our highlights just a bit up. Let's see about the shadows. I'll bring the shadows a bit up. Alright, that looks good. I'll bring the blacks just a bit down. And I really don't want to put too much clarity or too much texture. And I really don't want to darken it that much. So now so she looks good. Let me just focus on the back now and see how we can touch up the photo from the back. So you don't really see too much on the strings or anything, but I'll still remove them because I kind of can still see them. So I'll make sure I remove those. But let's see first. Okay. I'll probably still mess with the texture though. But I probably will bring, there we go, the highlights, there we go. You can see we really did make the Will You Marry Me kind of pop a bit. Okay, so now we're just gonna bring up the texture just a bit. Let me see what the coloring is. Bring down the saturation just a tad bit. I think that looks good. Okay. So now I'm just gonna go back and remove those strings that we have there. Okay, so remove that. And we have to remove them one by one because with the removal of anything, it always has to be touching. So, okay, that one. That looks pretty good, I think. So just go ahead and, usually my final steps, I always go to the color grading. I feel like it's one of the most important parts after you capture all the detail. So we'll just kind of mess with it. Okay, that looks good. So we can see it was right here. But bring it a little bit brighter, not too bright. Okay, right here, let's see what we can do. Yeah, I'll bring that down just a bit with the shadows, now with the highlights. That looks pretty good to me. So we see if we go back, the photo on its own was already a really, really good photo. So this was the original. And after editing and touching everything up, coloring, you can see our final product. now that we got that shot, we could just go over to one where during the actual proposal. So first we're just gonna make sure this is cropped properly. I'll probably crop it just like that. Okay, so that's cropped properly. Now we're just gonna paste our editing settings. Alright, so we can see already we went from this where it was a little off-centered, and then also not colored all the way properly, but from us going to like that just within like 2 clicks. So that's just I used to, every single time I would edit a photo, I would start from scratch, and I didn't know you can copy your editing settings, or you could even make your own presets. I would literally start from scratch every single time, messing with contrast, coloring, lighting, shadows every single time. And sometimes whenever you're doing a shoot, you can come back and you have like 4,000 photos you have to look through. So that would take hours upon hours upon hours. But learning these little tips and tricks and just having something handy such as Lightroom and just learning the whole program really helps you to become better at, just editing proficiency, and you overall just becoming a better photographer all around. So it's just something important to always continuously learn and learn and learn. Even to this day, I continue learning like new tricks and tips just to make me faster at editing, and even not only just even faster, but just better quality, So yeah. Okay, so first I'm just gonna select myself so I have both of them. I'm just gonna bring up the highlights on them because I see what their faces are a little underexposed. So let me just also touch it and see. And then one thing that's good about this too is like it helps you to focus on 2 subjects at once, or like whoever your subjects are, whatever the subject is, because you don't want one area or one person to be bright and the other person to be dark, different things like that. It really helps you touch on like both of your subjects, or whatever your subject is. With their clarity, I'll bring up their clarity just a bit. Alright, now bring them up. I'll bring down the noise just so we don't catch any of that. So now we're just going to focus on the background. Alright, so with the background, I'll just go straight to the curve point. I'll bring this down a bit actually. Then I'm going to bring up the different shadows and stuff, and not like that. Okay. Alright. Now I'm just going to go over everything. Well, first I'll remove those lines. We can see right there. This way. Okay. Awesome. I think that's a pretty good photo. So you can see just like how we started off. Oh, wrong button. We started out, this was the original. We see it was a lot darker. The colors didn't really pop more now with the highlights and everything. But after touching everything up, we were able to bring a lot of color in it, and also just focus on our subjects a lot more with bringing out the shadows and everything. So I think it was a pretty good photo. So I kind of just wanted to go over and show you guys how I edited photos, kind of behind the scenes, what this type of shoot would look like with the proposal, preparation, just getting to the shoot, making sure I'm getting those key important shots. And then overall just looking back through all the photos I've taken and going through how I want all of them to kind of have a look to them, and just make sure all of them are seamless. So I know I just went over 3 basic photos, but I hope you overall just got the gist of how I go through each one. I put a link kind of just showing more of the photos. If you guys want to see, I'll put a link to my Instagram so you can see once they're posted how the photos came out. Also, if you're interested or want to see more in-depth videos of me editing, if you guys have any questions, anything like that, you could also feel free to just leave a comment down below. Thanks so much for your time, and thanks for watching. Until next time.